diagnostic tool. If you haven't been through this yourself, it might sound strange, but it actually makes a lot of sense. You see, infants are inscrutable. It's hard, for example, to know how much milk a newborn is taking in. Breasts don't have volume markings on the side, and they aren't transparent, two more ways evolution has failed us. But you can tell how much the newborn is nursing from the quantity and frequency of wet and soiled diapers. You even receive a chart at the hospital. In the first week of life, you're told, look for 6 wet diapers and 2 dirty ones per day. Or here's another reason to inspect the diaper, one for the real breastfeeding insiders. How do you know if the child is spending long enough on each breast? That's right, it's in the poop. If he's draining each breast, he'll be getting not only the lean foremilk, which will turn his stool green, but also the fat-rich hind milk, which will turn it orange or brown. You're hoping to find the latter in the diaper. And here's the thing. Once you get over the initial aversion, diaper contents actually turn out to be pretty darn interesting. If you love the child and are concerned about his well-being, it follows that you care about what goes in and, as a consequence, how it looks when it comes out. And that's because there are things to learn about your infant by attending to the gross stuff that you just couldn't know if you attended only to the appealing stuff, like smiles and cooing. Changes in his stool may be your first indication that he's ill, and inspecting his vomit might be the only way to know definitively where that set of tiddlywinks went. While the blissful, sanitized, halcyon ideal of parenthood that many of us begin with might be seductive, and in fact might be necessary to get any of us to willingly commit to it in the first place, the truth is that there is a dirty side too, and that dirty side is, in its own way, beautiful. Okay, maybe beautiful goes too far, but at the very least, it's revealing. You learn more about an infant, what he needs, what he's eating, and how he's feeling, by also looking in the diaper. And over time, you come to appreciate it. I only mention all of this because what I've come to learn about babies is also true of language. The ancient Sanskrit grammarians of the 4th and 5th centuries BC discovered and documented the patterns of sound and meaning that still form the basis for our modern scientific conception of language. And since then, philosophers, linguists, anthropologists, sociologists, and psychologists have studied how language works, how people make new words, how they move their mouths to articulate sounds, and how words change over time. The subject matter is fascinating. Language is fascinating. But over the last 26 centuries, language scholars have focused on a sanitized and saccharine type of language. For the most part, language scientists have only been talking about the pretty part of the metaphorical baby. And that's a pity, because you actually learn far more by considering the dirty parts, too. Let me give you 2 examples, 2 ways in which dirty language reveals things about language that we'd never have suspected otherwise. We've known for a long time that specific parts of the brain play special roles in language. The critical bit of evidence is that when these certain parts of the brain suffer damage, due, for instance, to a stroke, lesion, or trauma, people start to have trouble pronouncing or understanding words. But the same brain damage leaves other cognitive capacities unaffected. And this tells us that these particular brain regions are important for language. But there's a twist, and it involves profanity. Damage to language-supporting brain regions doesn't impair all language equally. In fact, a lot of the time, even when brain damage obliterates most language, swearing still remains. And people with brain damage do swear a lot. They have a lot to swear about with the brain damage and all. This fact usually gets swept under the rug in discussions of language disorders or how the brain encodes language, but it's important because it means that the automatic, reflexive swearing that spurts out when you stub your toe or get cut off on the highway uses different parts of the brain from the rest of language. Language, we've come to find out, isn't all localized in the same place in the brain. The story is far more complex and far more nuanced than that. But we only know this because of the shits and goddammits that leap from the mouths of people with brain damage who are otherwise linguistically challenged. Here's another example. Words change their meaning over time. Sometimes they become more general. For example, in English, the word dog actually once referred to a particular kind.